We're all good to go.
Hey, everybody. This is SHARC Doc Talk. We're back. Dr. Travis Conley, Doc T, nickname, and this is Dr. David Dionson.
Hey,
Dr. Justin is working an event right now, doing a little injury screen at Orange Theory down in San Clemente, California, I believe it is. A little shout out to them for having us in. Best of luck to everybody out there. Hope you guys had a good day. And I just found out our buddy Dan, our massage therapist here, our High Rocks athlete, just completed his race, hopefully a little bit ago. Hopefully he's still walking and feeling pretty good, so shout out to Dan as well. Today we're going to jump into some fun stuff. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. I talk about it most of the days, but just sometimes it's more fun to talk about in this setting. Absolutely. And we actually have a new study that we get to cite, which makes us feel good about ourselves, which is always nice too. But today we're basically going to talk about exercise. And not just generally like, yes, you should get 30 minutes of exercise a day and you should do 4 or 5 days a week and blah, blah, blah. More specifically to the patients that we see or people that come into our clinic and how it is this, especially with the new year coming up, which is really what drove this conversation. January, the gyms are about to get slammed. And then by February, they're going to be emptied again. And then our clinic will be slow on January because everybody's in the gym. And then we get busy in February because everybody hurt themselves at the gym. So they end up back in here. So we want to talk about a few things to kind of see if we can help you do both. Not get hurt, go to the gym, stay in the gym, and stay healthy as well. So he's going to cite real quick. He just found this morning, I think.
Yeah. Well, I found it. I think it was either this morning or last night. It popped up in my feed before I went to bed. I think, yeah, it might have been this morning.
Oh, that's bed food.
Yeah, bed food. I don't know why. But through the, I believe it's just Medical Science Sports of Exercise Journal, they just published a study from 2011 to 2014, so it's their meta-analysis of everything here. They said, objectively, physical activity is the strongest predictor of all-cause mortality. And
so what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so basically what the study was really citing was that when we're talking about how long someone lives or their quality of life, it's really tied just to their physical activity, meaning that if you are more physically active than the normal person, meaning normal person, someone that doesn't really exercise or someone that doesn't get much physical activity at all, you're going to have a better quality of life and you will probably live longer. And that's what's tied together there. And that's what we've known for the longest time. But it's also cool to see it in a medical journal now, 100%. Not just a sports journal.
Yeah, and to understand why journals are bed food for our minds, although right before bed is probably not the best time, but it's stuff we think about while we're sleeping and try to go to sleep. It really is an amazing thing when you can tie in studies to show moving your body is important for your livelihood, longevity, happiness, quality, everything, right? So what we got in with it, that was funny, it came up, just perfect timing. What we want to discuss is when it comes to getting to the gym, exercising, we're talking about exercise versus sport, okay? Sport is different in the sense of people will run to get in shape, and running is a sport. Like Dan's finishing his High Rocks right now, half of that event is running. So that's a sport of running versus the exercise. The problem is when you try to use a sport as exercise, you end up succumbing to your limitations. And what I mean by that is if you have poor mobility, poor motor control, poor stability, poor strength, any of those, poor cardiovascular, you're going to put yourself in a position to get hurt in an attempt to try to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, big question is, well, here's an example. I love this one. I would have to jump this in there, even though I kind of missed it, but I love this. So I was thinking about this morning before we started this up. And I thought, what other sports, like what limitations are different? And of course, since I work with a football team, my first thought was quarterbacks. So we can go through a list of 5'11", 5'10", wink, wink, 6'1", wink, wink, quarterbacks, and then 6'4", 6'5" quarterbacks. Now, theoretically, take Drew Brees or Michael Vick or trying to think of some other shorter guys out there, Doug Flutie for a bit. Yep. These are shorter quarterbacks. Currently, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. These are shorter in the sense that they're not 6'5". But that physical limitation they have, now mind you, this is the textbook stuff they put out there, where Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, that's textbook good height. But that physical limitation, they can overcome that by skill. They can get better at reading defenses. They can get better understand their offenses. They can move themselves around to get to better positions when they see the field better. Those are all skill developments that limitation, not really a limitation, but you know what I mean, doesn't hinder them. However, for someone who has poor mobility, poor stability, poor motor control, poor strength habits, bad cardiovascular habits, eating habits, name all that stuff. If you can't reach overhead very well, it's like my arms up, I'm kind of stuck. Just by going out and pushing through it, you're not going to beat that limitation. You have to figure out why you have that limitation. height is just a genetic limitation,
Yep.
but there's so many other pieces around you can take care of. If you can't get overhead, you have poor stability. Those aren't genetic limitations. Those are developmental. That means you develop poor behavior patterns. I use behavior now instead of motor because nobody understands that part as well. So behavior patterns towards movement and exercise. So those limitations don't go anywhere because you start running, you start playing pickleball, or you start doing other things. And in January, you start going to the gym.
Yeah.
So that's where we got the limitation thing. So this is a power lifter here.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to be able to do certain things well. But if he doesn't do his stability stuff, he's going to hurt his back.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's kind of how it goes in. So what we do here, and why we love this so much, is we do with things called assessments. So you come in an initial visit exam, so to speak. We're actually going to run you through a physical assessment to find your limitations. And what's the purpose of that?
Oh, my bad. I didn't know you were
I want to see I was talking too much. Assessment is basically, it's like an eye exam, right? We can look at the way you move, the way you pattern yourself, your behavior. You know, I say pick up this object or go bend this way or bend that way or lift this or whatever. And we can see where your limitation lies inside those movement patterns. Those movement patterns translate over to getting you healthy or unhealthy. So if you have bad patterns, your possibility of getting injured goes through the roof. So we tie it into this study where it says exercise is good for you. We want to make sure you're moving well first. We don't want to just throw exercise at you and then boom, there you go. So Dr. David, give me an example of any clients you've had where the assessment kind of helped you figure out something that you didn't see before.
Yeah. I like how you brought up the powerlifting thing. We had one athlete. He was a powerlifter. He came in, and really he's been powerlifting longer than I have been. So it was always interesting just to hear his perspective on things. But he would randomly get shoulder pain at the bottom of his bench when it wasn't necessarily light anymore. It was like an RPE. We'll call it a 6, and what that really stands for is rate of perceived exertion. So something that feels heavier, especially when we get to like that 6-7 range. We can jump into that. That's a whole discussion.
Yeah, reps
So
are another one.
I'll cut it out at that part. But he said like once he gets to an RPE 6, so that's a different number every single day, it would start to be painful. So I was just seeing what his shoulder mobility would look like, and then we noticed that his right shoulder had less external rotation than his left one, and he also had poor pulling patterns on his right side. So that means at the bottom...
Just quick interjection, poor pulling patterns means that the way he begins the movement, the way his body structures, the way it moves from point A to point B is no bueno, no good.
Yeah. So to think about the bench press rather than just a pushing motion, we're also thinking about the eccentric part, so the part that comes down on the press. So essentially, that's a pull in terms of the pattern. Yep. Not necessarily the whole motion itself, but, you know, the pattern of how it's moving is a pulling pattern.
Right.
So at the bottom of his bench press, we noticed there was something funky going on.
I remember this guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And once we fixed that, he had no pain coming out of the hole.
It's like magic.
Yep.
And so what he means by that is if I'm pushing, even overhead, so say I'm doing a shoulder press, I get up, that's concentric, so I've contracted and got the muscle weight up. As I come down, even though the delt is doing this eccentric load, the lats underneath and all the other shoulder muscles are actually, I'm not even close to it, I hope you hear that, are actually, so when you're coming down, they're actually going to be supporting the arm so it doesn't just fall, right? So there's muscles that just create a contraction, don't just shut off, and everything around it isn't neutral. It's the way in which you're setting that up. And that's that assessment thing where he was looking at him, he's watching going, wait. When you watch somebody move back, oh, my favorite one. I got to jump in. Favorite one. When people say, my squatting form is better when I have weight, think that that is okay. And my red flags go flying. That is horrible. That means you're using the barbell and weights to counteract your insufficiencies, your limitations, and you're not addressing the limitation, which means you're going to get hurt. I guarantee you're going to get hurt. Sorry, I just had to jump. That just makes me laugh. That's my favorite. I do better. My squat looks better when I have weight on me. I'm like, that's not good. That's not good, man.
And even to jump into that point, because sometimes when you have weight on you, you have to do it right.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's just what it is.
Yeah. It shouldn't be a corrective.
Yeah.
But it does force you. Like somebody says, I hate front squats. Well, I know you got a weak core. I know 100%. They go, what do you mean? It's like once that barbell goes on your back, it doesn't matter what you use, and it's not always the best. But when you're in a front squat, you can't extend it, you can't misload it. You have to be good at that. So anyway, so that's what he's referring to. So those assessments, the whole purpose is to kind of unlock, and I'm going to use this word 1,000 times, so I apologize, a limitation. And those limitations are just physical, and they could be developmental. It could be years in the making. It could be, the funniest thing is somebody's like, I got in a car accident, 17 years ago. I was like, well, that's where this started. I had a new patient just the other day who had a wedge put in her C5, C6 of her spine, of her disc area. And now she has symptoms related to that area. And I was like, well, that's it. Yeah. And she said, well, I don't understand. I had it fixed. I said, no, you had a surgery. When they cut you open, that generally causes more problems than it fixes, depending on the surgery, of course. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is a very big thing. I think one of my favorite things that one of our professors have told us when I was in school was that surgery can be done, but it can't necessarily be undone. So once you start cutting into stuff just like that, you run the risk of something. We're not saying that all surgery is bad. If something's torn, if something's completely gone, of course, we understand that part. We're fixing something structural at that point.
Yeah.
But if it's unnecessarily and they're just trying to unnecessarily cut you open, let's consider our other options here.
And
I also like how he brought up patterns, right? We're not necessarily looking for just one mistake on one rep when you're doing 10 of them. We're looking at what you do all the time. Yeah. So hence why a lot of our assessments are like, okay, I want you to, squat 5 times, 10 times. We're looking at things that you're constantly doing naturally, some things that you aren't thinking about, because that's how you understood how to do that motion.
Right. And the thing is great is that when you're doing an assessment, you're really literally trying to find the systemic problem and the local problem, meaning he had shoulder pain. I promise you there's some other connections in there, right?
Yep.
I'll have a patient who only has pain laying in bed and getting out of bed. And I was like, interesting. Do me a favor. Lay down on the table. Okay. That hurt? Yep. I want you to squeeze and brace your core. He wasn't great at it. We tweaked it. He did it. He got up. No pain. Got back down. No pain. All of a sudden his pain's gone. So there's a person that is not injured. They're just moving poorly. Yeah. And once we identified that, now he's a new dad, and all the new moms and dads out there, I promise you, dad, even though you don't, you're changing diapers and helping mom and doing things like that, like physically, but you're still putting yourself in bad positions also, because now you have this wonderful little being next to you that you will literally pick up in the worst possible ways you can fathom, because you have to, because of whatever's going on. So you're now susceptible, as mom is, to getting hurt. So
that's funny. I have a friend that just had twins on his first try. So congratulations.
Congrats, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, to both of you guys. But I was just talking to him, I think it was last week. He had just hit me up and he said, hey, I'm having trouble just picking up my son from my left side, putting him to my right side. And I don't know why. And then I was seeing how he did it. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know why you'd pick up anything that way, but you're doing it with your child.
Because remember, there's still, at 4 or 5 months, there's still 20, 25, 30 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's some weight. Now it's your baby. So as parents go, just having 3 of my own and watching my wife go through this, when you're carrying them, you have stuff you're trying to get done. And usually you're picking them up for one reason or another, trying to get them out of the light socket or not play with the stairs, whatever. But you do it in a way where you don't think about it like you would if you're in the gym.
Yeah.
And I teach all my patients, whether moms or dads, look at your baby and think of them like a 30 to 40 pound kettlebell. Yeah. It's not heavy, but it's heavy. How would you pick that up if you were exercising versus trying to lift them up to get them to the table for food or diaper change or whatever it may be? And address all of those patterns. It's exactly what I told him, this exact same way. And if you treat it that way, you'll notice that you won't have the pain anymore. It's like magic. Yeah. And that's still part of the assessment, right? That's still what we're trying to figure out is where are you doing things wrong, bad movement, whatever it may be. So that's a great one. I do love them. Twins, man. Boy, girl?
Both boys. Oh. They just had their first birthday, so they're at the chunkier stages now. And
the best stage.
I call it the dead weight stages too. So when you try to pick them up, for some reason that 30 pounds is
dead 30.
It feels heavier than 30 pounds.
It's amazing what oh God, they're crazy. The boys are just man, nuts. My boys now decided it's time to wrestle dad. And my oldest is 13 and 6'2". My youngest is 12. He's probably about 5'8". One's 140 and the other one's like 105. And they have, he's starting his man muscle. So this isn't like playtime anymore. I actually have to focus, mostly so I don't hurt him, but also because he's freaking strong now. Oh, those little buggers. Yeah. Anyway, so those are the things that we talk about in the assessment. So the purpose of, getting back into shape and getting into the gym, figuring out where you are. We have something called, I just literally had it on my tip of my tongue, I forgot, a weightlifting age. So
Oh.
it's basically how many years you've been lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been lifting since I'm 13. I'm 51 now. So I'm almost 40 years of lifting weights. That's my lifting age.
I haven't thought about mine. Hold on.
Yeah. And what that means is there's good and bad, right? If your lifting age is 19 months, that has good, like pros and cons. It has good things and bad things. For me, at 40 years of lifting, almost, the good thing is I'm rather efficient. I can figure things out. I know how to theoretically not hurt myself. Which
Theoretically
is
is a
true,
big
yeah.
one.
However, I also my behavior patterns are so ingrained that I can cheat 65 different ways for a movement and still perform the task. So,
Yeah.
go
I
ahead,
like
please.
what you brought up there, because like I think I just did the math now. At least for consistently lifting, 5 years.
Yeah, so you're young.
On the young end.
Yep.
But when we talk about especially the older lifting athlete, sometimes it's harder to treat them, especially with patterns,
100%.
because it's harder to break. It's like old dog new tricks. It's that concept, because at least when you're younger, in your lifting age, not just necessarily age itself, but lifting age, it's easier to teach you new things, and that's why you call quote unquote the noob gains, where you jump up in weight faster because you're just learning all the new stuff. Yeah, so if you haven't passed that part yet, just good luck. Once you hit that, it's a little rough.
So the new gains concept, I
Yeah.
love this one.
Yeah.
This is somebody goes to the gym. It's like starting a new diet.
Yeah.
First 6 to 8 weeks, the world is your oyster.
Mm-hmm.
You don't stop smiling. You feel great. Your energy goes up. Everything's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
However, like I said in January and February, at that 6 to 8 week window, you hit that wall. The limitations kick in. Some things happen. Usually it's just tied to the fact that you're missing a piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like to say in our clinic. Like, we're just going to help your puzzle find the piece that's missing, put you back together, and on your way you go, right? So that's kind of the interesting part about that new gains theory, which is great. It's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And then when PRs disappear, PRs are when you get a personal record. Like if I'm squatting and I get 305 and now I'm 310, and yes, 5 pounds is a great PR at that weight.
It's a huge.
It's like,
thing.
it's a great feeling. The worst feeling is 2 weeks later, you do it again, you're like down to 288, and you're like, why is this so heavy?
Oh yeah.
There's just something about that just sucks. So that's where we're drawing this. And you're like, we want you to get back in the gym, we want you to exercise, but you have to figure out your limitation. And the other big thing, this is the beefy part I want to get into. You have to pick the exercise routine that fits you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we say lifting age, the reason that's important, so he's 5. Why I say that's young, even though you're like, wow, it's 5 years of lifting. It's like a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
5-year-olds aren't old.
No.
They're young. They're still learning. And he's very 100% right. In my years of doing this, give me somebody who just got in the gym a year or two ago.
Really easy.
So easy to fix.
Really easy.
So easy to fix. Give me somebody like myself who's 40 years in. And I mean, I've done a zillion back squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, name it. I've done it. Trying to fix my movement pattern, good luck. Mm-hmm. And this is the hard part that's hard. This is the hard part for everybody here. So take a breath. There's hope.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have somebody who's like that, it takes time to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not something you're like 2-3 weeks, make these correctives, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're going to be doing this for the next 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
You know? And it's not saying you can't exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, I've got to back off because I got some stuff going on. I got to break it down to get into the simple stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to. You can see me on the camera right now. I do not want to. But I'm going to have to. And it starts tomorrow. Why? Because it has to.
Yeah.
Because I want to stay. You know, we have this study on exercise, how it helps longevity. However, what they're referring to, and I bet if you read that study, the exercise was stuff that was done within their skill sets.
Yeah.
Right? Their abilities. Meaning that I've sat on the sofa the last 5 years. Now I'm going to go run 3 miles a day.
That's not gonna happen.
Not a bad idea. Right? Bad idea. Or better yet, this current age, while I love the sport, pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go pickleball.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
That's a fun one.
Oh my God, your ligaments and your tendons have not seen movement for months, years, who knows? So just, take the time, what we're trying to say,
Yeah.
get assessed,
Yeah.
understand your limitations, but don't rush to a CrossFit gym or rush to a powerful lifting gym or Olympic lifting gym or a running class or whatever else. You got to want to figure out what you've been doing, what's your lifting age. Like, these are things as a human you should just understand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you it's more conscious about your body because, the saying goes, you can have 1 million iPhones in your lifetime or Samsungs for Sam.
For Sam.
I think that's why he got a Samsung. His name's in the name.
Honestly, knowing Sam, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, Sam's MO.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you get one body.
Yeah.
And that's it. And when you start breaking stuff, it's broken.
It's broken.
Right?
Yeah.
Broken bone heals? Of course it does. Livers heal, lungs heal, of course. But there's always wear and tear. And that just is over the years. So don't train harder, train smarter.
I want to jump back into the pickleball, especially for people my age. Apparently I found out I'm no longer called a young adult. I'm a young professional, so I've aged out. Whatever that means. I don't care anymore.
Okay.
But based off of that, we're at an age where we went to college and then we've worked a little bit. We haven't necessarily been in our quote-unquote high school and middle school ages when we're going out to recess or we're going out to play PE and all that stuff. So if you think about it, if you really haven't been active in those years, that is about 8 years of quote-unquote inactivity.
Yeah. Developmental.
Developmental.
Inactive, which we need to talk about.
We went from going out and playing to sitting down the majority of our time. Now, sitting has its time and place, but if it's your job for about 8 hours of the day, that's different. So that's why you have the quote-unquote old man pains kicking in. Because you're not really doing anything outside of just your job. So when you jump into pickleball, don't expect you to be yourself at high school age or young college age, wherever you were still active. You will have some drawbacks because you weren't active at that time.
Okay. Here we go. I love giving lessons from my lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my lesson that I learned on that exact topic. One of my front desk managers years ago, 10, 12, 13 years ago, her husband was a patient, came in, athletic guy, big, strong guy. But, it's been a few years, let himself go a little bit, wanted to get back in the gym, get in shape. And I said, you know what, you can still kind of do what you're familiar with doing, just take your time. Now, I was young. I mean, this was, like I said, 13, 14, I was 6, 7 years in. And believe it or not, they call this a practice for a reason because humans, they don't always tell you everything.
Yeah.
And so I learned this lesson, big lesson, to make sure I thoroughly explain what I mean by going back to what you're used to doing. I didn't ask when that was. And so he comes in the following week, went to the gym, warmed up, decided it's back squat day. He hasn't back squatted in 20 years.
Ooh.
And because of my direction, he tried to back squat what he back squatted 20 years ago.
And there's no back squats in between?
Not a one.
No.
Getting off the sofa, getting out of the car. True, yeah. And of course, he tweaked his back. And I kind of looked at him like, well, I couldn't put it together. And then I had to dig a little bit, which happens. And I found out that he tried to do 240 pounds, something like that, back squat 5 times.
Ooh.
And like I said, he's a big, strong guy. So he got through 2 reps, but he's not in shape in that sense. Out his back went.
Yeah.
And so
that's where we jump into in-season versus out-of-season, but that's a little different for everyone else.
And that's another conversation we're going to have because there's a lot of important things tied to unpacking that thing.
Yeah, but I can resonate with that because, I mean, not to brag, but I'm above a 4-plate squat. But I haven't...
Hold on. Nobody knows what that means. So that should be 400 pounds?
405.
405, yeah. So if you guys understand, that's 405. That's not the back squat where, you barely bend your knees.
No, you get in depth.
Yeah, your legs are parallel to the ground, like your thighs. So you're down there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight on your back.
But with that also being said, it's been holiday season, so my training has been very inconsistent.
Oh.
So I'm not touching anywhere close to my PR for my own safety because I already know where that's going to go.
Ah, he's learning.
I'm learning.
See, young dog, new tricks, not that hard. Old dog, me, dumb. I'm just dumb. That's all there is to it.
Well, it does depend on how much caffeine I had that morning.
That does play a lot into a lot of. That's why pre-workouts can be dangerous.
It's fun, but just watch out.
Yeah, be very And I tell patients like you're gonna have days you're gonna wake up. Like I'm a machine at 5 a.m. I get up, I go work out. That's just what I do. I have been exhausted. I've slept for 2 hours. I haven't slept at all. I just go because I have 40 years. It's just I know what to go do. I don't have to even be conscious, which is sometimes the worst way to work out.
Yep.
But I have learned when I get there and I start rolling out and I have my little warm-up routine, I can tell now within like 10 to 12 minutes whether this is going to be a day I need to push it or a day I need to back off.
Yeah.
And today, like this morning, for example, I got out of bed, felt pretty good. Got my water, got my stuff, started to work out. I felt okay. Got in the first movement, I was done. So I backed everything down to just functional stuff, and we'll get into what functional stuff is in a little bit. But I have now taught David, not me personally, but my experiences and other people's experiences in his own, and now he understands, and he's taught himself to recognize, be honest, be self-aware. Like you want to go back to the gym in January, but you haven't done anything in 2024.
Yeah.
Man, go slow.
Yeah.
And the treadmill is not your friend. All right? It's not your friend. But those little 5-pound weights, little 10-pound weights, body weight's the best, I think. I'm going to say you get some push-ups, some TRX rows. You got lunges or even just quarter lunges or quarter squats. Like you don't have to go through full range of motion. You have to start establishing range of motion is the best way to look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just even on top of that, I think for me, when you said for you, it's about like 10 minutes in, for me, it's about my fourth warm up in, especially when I'm ascending up in weight.
Yeah, I'm 50. He's
like,
not.
I'll know. I'll know. And that's usually what I'll text my coach. Be like, hey, I know I'm supposed to hit this number today or this perceived exertion today. I'm going to play somewhat conservative today. We'll get aggressive, but we'll make sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a different concept once we get there. But especially with what Dati was saying, like the first week of, let's say, January 1st to, we'll just say 14th, just so really 2 weeks there. Yeah, really focus on the motion, because you're not focused on 2 weeks of improvement. You're looking for a lifetime of change. So what that looks like is we have to plan out things appropriately so you don't get hurt and you can work out for a longer time.
It's fascinating. Lifetime of change. Most people that are rushing to the gym in January, like I try to, if I was a gym member, I try to avoid the gym in January at all costs if I can.
I do.
I'll take my periodization, I'll do band work, I'll do BFR, I'll do anything else but go to the gym, because it's usually chaos.
Yeah.
And that's where the training age comes in. That's the unique thing about it. With my training age, you would think I would be smarter. And I'm not. I actually make just as many mistakes as I did probably my 5 years. Mm-hmm. But I'm learning how to not make those mistakes now. And that's what we want to pass on to David here, doctor here, is that, learn from those things. And for yourself going in, the most important thing you can do, and this is say, time is tight, money's tight, whatever, you have to make sure you understand what you're doing. We call it bro science. When you go Googling stuff and the Google machine becomes your personal trainer, that's not the best avenue. And I said this before on anything else you do with it when it comes to going to the internet. That internet has never seen you. It's never seen you move. Like, we're going to watch you move. It's never seen you move. So it has no idea. Mm-hmm. And so to kind of back up what Dave was saying about when you're a child and you're outside playing at recess and you're always moving, like in theory and I hope so, what that is like human development. So for his friend that just had 2 babies, tell him this. He'll love this. He'll geek out on it. This is the best way for you to understand. If you have children out there, or if you haven't, or you've been around children who are under the age of 12 months, remember how they started moving, right? Mm-hmm. There was a head up first, right? That's engaging your core system, your rectus abdominis, your six-pack, all the good stuff. And also getting your C-spine to move, but that regulates into your stability system. Then the rolling pattern came in, and that's when they rolled off the sofa onto the floor and you didn't know they could do that. Yeah, that happened to me twice, 2 different kids. Thank God we had carpet, very extra padding in it. But I was like, I didn't know they could do that. Well, rolling patterns is another pattern you develop for core development. And then from there, you get to getting up on your hands and knees. And then you start crawling backwards. Then you start crawling forwards. Then you start kneeling. Then you start standing. Then you start using the sofa or any object you can to walk while you're creating core and lower body stability. All of those things are developed as you're a baby and move on. So when we're rehabbing somebody, what we have to do when we assess them first is find the limitation wherever that took place, which could be when they were 6, 5, 2. Kids start walking too soon as babies. That's kick them down, make them crawl. That developmental pattern is very important for them. And the walking part is inevitable. The running part, this is all inevitable. But the crawling helps them develop. And if you out there don't believe what I'm saying, I challenge any of you to do a bear crawl on a track, just 1 lap. And tell me how hard that is. And that's about how much your baby will crawl in 1 day around the house. And they're doing that every day. You're telling me there's no development in there, right? You want that development. You want them to create that and learn that. And then your assessment in this type of office is, let's take you back and find out what you've done, what you're missing. Let's find the piece you hate. Like I was saying, gyms, people hate burpees.
Yeah.
Well, you probably should do more then. I don't like doing back squat. Well, then you probably should do more. I don't like deadlifting. Well, you probably should do it more. Like the things you don't like to do, it's your body telling your brain because you suck at it. You're inefficient. Sorry to say the word, but it's just true. So whatever you suck at in the gym, that's what you want to focus on. As a human goes, this gets back to what we talked about. A bodybuilder only does a certain version of cardio for a very specific purpose. So if you, as an untrained or not trained in a while individual, choose to train bodybuilding style, you have to make sure you understand where the beginning of that is and then what the intent of it is, what the goal is. So the goal is always to figure out, like our goal in our office is figure out why you move poorly, how we can help, insert correctives, treat the tissue, and make it healthier. And then we try to keep you just long enough to help you move better. 50-50 on that one. Some people do it, some people don't, what have you. So when you go to the gym, you have to consider what is your goal. and you take that goal, like, I want to run a marathon. Great. Don't start running 5 miles a day.
No.
Yeah. Backtrack that down and find your limitations, fix them, add the correctives, and then begin. Now, if you want to run a marathon and you haven't ran in 20 years, chances are it's going to take you a year to train for this.
Yeah.
Don't be upset. It's just what it is. Marathoners who are running 210, 220, 230 marathons, they don't take 5 years off, right? So they're already there. And the fine-tuning of them is different than it's going to be with you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even for our lifters, especially the high school athletes that have, well, previous high school athletes, I should rephrase, someone that was a previous high school athlete and they go out and work afterwards. Yeah, you're not touching that 315 squat.
No.
Not right now.
No.
Not right now.
No, not saying you can't get there.
Yeah.
Don't get us wrong. This is
Yeah.
not a naysay, negative,
Yeah.
cynical point of view. This is, we're trying to help you not get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, you have to understand, I've got so many athletes. I have one right now. It's going through, doesn't want to have his third back surgery. Doesn't want to have it. I don't blame him. But you got to do the work. And so it's just kind of like that, I'm a dad soapbox. Like, hey, if you want to get here or go there, you have to do the work. There's no way around it.
Yeah. And trust me, I'm 100% an enabler in the office.
Yes,
When they're just
we are.
I want to squat 405. I'm like, let's do it.
I'm more excited than you are. Yeah. It's like, you want to do what now? Let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a marathoner now who came in first day and he had an Achilles thing and a little plantar fascia thing. And we were talking. He's like, I go, and most people come in, oh, I'm a marathoner. I'm like, oh, cool. And they're running 250, 3 hours, whatever. A marathoner, by definition, you're under 220, 230. Like, you guys are running. We're talking 6-minute miles for 26 miles, right? That's different than a 8-minute mile for 26 miles. Different animals. So he came in and we were chatting and I said, he was running, I think it's a 2. God, I'm not going to quote this, so don't hold me to it, but the important thing is the improvement. Let's say he was a 241 marathoner. I told him you can get under 230. You fix why you have Achilles tendonitis on this leg, why your heel hurts. You fix that problem, which there is one, right? There's a limitation. You fix that problem, you'll break 230. And the look on his face, he was so excited. And I was laughing going, you think you're excited? I'm even more excited because this is fun. Like, doing stuff like that is fun.
Yeah.
And I think he went out. We had a couple hiccups here and there, life hiccups, not physical ones, work-related, baby-related, so forth. I want to say it was like 233, 234. He took like 6 to 7 minutes off his marathon time.
Yeah.
And all we did was tweak his training, tweak his movement pattern, find out where his limitation was, and let the beast loose. And it was the most fun. And so, yeah, David's right. Dr. David's right. You got somebody coming in and like, you know what? I want to get back into it. That's like the patient yesterday. Guy working in an office, got a little belly on him. He's like, I want to get back to doing parkour and doing my thing. I'm smiling ear to ear right now.
Oh, yeah.
I've got 6 months. If you're committed, I'm committed. You're going to love life for the next 6 months. I mean, you're going to hate it sometimes, but you're going to love where you come out the other side and that light into that tunnel. So there's nothing more fun than that. So by no means are we cynical. We definitely are enablers. It's just that we care about you and we love you and we don't want you hurt. And that's because my old behind has hurt myself so many times. And my wife listens to this and she just laughs. She's like, they have no idea. I'm like, I know. I'm not going to. Yeah, whatever.
All the stories that you could probably put into your injuries could fill up a book.
Yeah,
So, like,
we'd have a lot of fun.
Yeah. I've been in the office for about 3-4 years at this point. I feel like I've only heard a quarter of them.
Well, I don't like to talk about myself.
Yeah.
Besides being the dumb part of me, I don't really.
And plus, I've done my own too, whether it was traumatic versus just like squatting and hurting my back. I've done that too. I've deadlifted, hurt my back, bench, hurt my shoulder.
Yes.
I understand how it goes.
Yes. And just like a sidebar on this thing, we're saying this to you not just in the sense of see us because we're perfect, we're amazing, we're going to fix you and all that. Sometimes you just get unlucky. And especially if you're training at a higher level, like Dan trains pretty hard for high rocks, but his job as a masseuse, if he fatigues his shoulders during a busy week, a lot of 2-3 hour massages and so forth, he might just have a bad day.
Yeah.
He may not have slept, hydrated, ate, like all these pieces that go into it that we forget. Professional athletes, and I can only speak to my experience working with a team, they have 50 coaches, 5 strength coaches, a staff of athletic trainers, massage therapists, medical doctors, orthopedics, chiropractors. They've got everything. And I mean, they got a cafeteria that it's amazing. I mean, they have literally everything they need. Their entire day is predicated on making sure their bodies are finely tuned athletes.
Yeah.
Right? They have all that. You don't. If you're a stay-at-home mom or dad, you got a little one to take care of. If you're going to work every day, you're going to work every day. You're fitting in training like we have to, where and when you can, which for me is 4:35 in the morning. It's not fun, but I know it's important to me. I don't want to be part of that study, that's for sure. But I want to make sure that I'm taking care of myself, right?
Yeah.
And so treat yourself like a human, be self-aware, don't just dive into, I'm going to go to the gym and do these things or what have you. And make sure you understand your body limitations before you start things. Mm-hmm. We want you to, believe me, most of my patients, I think 95% of my patients, getting them off the sofa is not the problem.
No.
Getting them to take a day off, like I have one, I walked 8 miles with the dog. I live in Laguna Beach, so it's mostly hilly. They're like, that's not a day off.
No.
That's not a day off. Mm-hmm. Just let your body recover. Roll out a little bit. You can do some stretching mobility stuff for sure. Core work, absolutely. 70-mile walk with a dog, that's not relaxing. Yeah, that's different. Yeah.
Yeah, for everyone that goes to the gym or everyone that also is an athlete, I usually say this to take the day off. Find a hobby. Gym is not your hobby.
Yeah, it's my hobby.
Yeah, gym is fun. Don't get me wrong. I love going to the gym. I love seeing everyone. I love also just doing what I need to do. But also at the same time, maybe to help yourself out, find something a little different. Yeah. It will help you out.
100%. Yeah, go to the beach, throw a towel down, do some stretches, relax, get some sunshine, go for a walk in the park. I mean, just, a half an hour or something like that, or sit on a bench. Just, take care of your mind too and let the body heal. Because the body, it does need time to heal. And it's, go ahead.
Yeah, most of your gains are in your rest.
I know. People don't understand that. Yeah. I train 6 days a week. I'm like, well, you might be overtraining.
Yeah, that's the big problem. If you overtrain, you're not allowing the body to rebuild what it needs to rebuild.
And here's a little sales pitch for SHARC and why we do what we do. But I have to plug this in there because it's part and parcel. The reason we tease about going on to Google and so forth is that machine hasn't seen you, right? You need a coach. You need somebody to help guide you with what it is you need to accomplish, whatever it may be. Now, the hard part is finding one that's not going to take advantage of you, of course, and one that's actually going to do its best for you and not for them. So a lot of coaches out there, a lot of doctors, PT clinics, chiropractic clinics, they might cater to a certain athlete and thus treat you as though I'm going to heal you as a certain type of athlete. You may have a coach that has a bias towards powerlifting or bodybuilding or Olympic lifting or endurance, and thus they want to train you that way. So when you're going to fit in there, like a place like SHARC, you come see us, we want to know what your goals are. And then without our biases, we will help you go down that roadmap for your end result. So whatever your goal is. Yeah. If it's purely losing weight and that's it, that's different than I want to get more tone or strong. I want to be able to lift a refrigerator for some odd reason or throw the Atlas stone over a fence.
That'd be fun in the office.
Well, man, we would not. They would kick us out so fast.
They would kick us out, but it's
so
worth
fast.
it.
Yeah, we've done crazier things. We have pickleball we set up in here sometimes, and we play pickleball in here. So it's definitely the office space, whatever. Anyway, but the goal is like you need to find someone who understands you, can help you with your goal, and then guide you down the road of how to accomplish that goal. Yeah. And I can't begin to tell you how much time, money, and energy I've watched people over the years waste going to the wrong places or doing the wrong things or having a biased skew on training protocols. And it's just too much. Yeah. Like we think that we're professional athletes because we want to be, right? It's a lot of fun.
It's real fun.
But at the same time, we're forgetting that those gains are on the off days.
Yep.
Those gains are when you sleep at night. And people out there who have trouble sleeping sometimes that train 6 days a week, I guarantee you're overtraining. I guarantee it. I put my career on it because that's the first sign. Yeah. When I start having nights where I'm a little restless, I'll look going, I'm trying to work out for 90 minutes, go treat football players for 3 hours, stand on the sideline, fly cross country, get up morning, work out again, go treat them again, go to the office to treat them, go home at night, get up in the morning, do it again. There's no way. That's a lot. There's no way.
That is a lot.
So your body's going to break. Yeah. So be realistic. If you're going to have a coach, there's nothing wrong with that. Find a program online or what have you. Just make sure that person and that program align with your goals and they're realistic for where your starting point is.
Yeah. Really, what it comes down to with our office is we have that discovery visit first. Just say, what do you want to do?
Discovery visits.
Yeah. What do you want to do? Like, this is just a clinical story on my end. One of my first patients ever as a doctor, she wanted to go, she wanted to go start running marathons. But I'm powerlifting biased, which is completely opposite, meaning that...
That's a challenge.
Yeah, I go up the stairs, I'm out of breath. Yeah. She wants to go 26 miles and not have calf pain anymore. But within that reasoning there, or within that visit, I should say, my reasoning was she's the patient. She's not necessarily calling all the shots because she doesn't know all the small things, but she told me what she wants to do. I have to serve her the best.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of our discovery.
And being
call
realistic with them. I mean, it's just
Mhm.
discovery visits. I honestly, I never did them when I was starting out because I didn't even think about them.
Yeah.
But I think I did them inadvertently because I'd hang out at the gym and start talking to people.
Yeah.
And so they start, well, I have this and I have that, and I would start chatting with them. So it's definitely not as structured as we do it here because it's better to be structured. If you guys go out to other clinics or whatever, I don't know why you would. We're right here. We're great. You'll like us, I promise. It's like if they're going to do a discovery visit, it should be a very well thought out 15-minute call or a visit in the office. There should be something up, leading up to it, so there's some understanding. But Dr. David is completely correct. I did CrossFit endurance coaching for 3 or 4 years. It was like the crossover between marathoners that knew they needed something else, weightlifting, and weightlifters or CrossFitters who needed something else, which was endurance, and taking the two and melding them together. It's really difficult. Yeah. Powerlifting is a different animal, such as Olympic lifting, from an endurance sport. Now, that being said, she'll benefit from the strength component for the marathon.
Oh, yeah.
And her strength, believe it or not, will actually benefit from the endurance component, right? They both go together. And then from there, like Dr. David said, wow, I got to slow down. I talk too fast. Dr. David said, you basically have to figure that out. That's what you're paying us to do. That's what a coach is for.
Yeah.
You don't want to do the thinking. If you're going to go somewhere and try to figure this out without a background like ours, which is a lot, you're going to end up making a mistake. And that mistake, I mean, you think having a little Achilles pain or a little shoulder pain where you can kind of do stuff, but you can't do certain things is bad. Wait till you're actually injured. Injure a disc, injure tissue that cannot be fixed or might be surgical, or you're 6 months off. I went through my back surgery. I was 6 months down before I could start moving again. And that was the longest 6 months of my wife's life because I was not gone for 60 to 90 minutes, 5-6 days a week in the gym, getting out my anxiousness because I am just a wired guy. And so she had to deal with me, poor thing. God bless her, she's amazing. Very patient woman. But that's kind of where we're going with this. That's the point of it. And the discovery visit, honestly, anybody out there listening to this, when you guys get a hold of this, it's worth your 15 minutes, I promise you. Because we will give you at the very least, a map that'll tell you where to go next. And that's worth everything. Because that's half the battle is figuring out, what do I do? I want to do this. I don't know how. What do I do? That's what we give you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And going back to that one patient, she was dealing with some, I think it was, if I believe correctly, it was calf pain and plantar fasciitis type of pain. Just because running technique and things like that. I'm not a running coach, so don't come to me for that part.
I got you.
He has you.
I got you.
But I understood the lifting parts of things. I also understood load management type of things. How much are you running per week, per day, all that stuff. I understood those things. I texted her recently just because I was curious, just to see where she was at, and she's still feeling great.
That's great. Yeah. And she, when's the last time you saw her?
It's been a year. She moved out of the city, so she was in the military actually. So,
okay. Yeah. She should still be finding somebody near her that can at very least give some of the stuff that we offer. That's fascinating. I do. God, I love that story. Yeah. I love stories like that. It makes me smile. I was going to go somewhere with that. And I totally spaced on what we're going to go next. But anyway, the fun of, load management. There you go. Yeah. There's a principle out there that you don't hear a lot at all. Actually, it's called the SAID principle. Yeah. So it's specific adaptation to imposed demand. Now, this is something where it's basically how your body adapts to a demand you put on your body, right? So how does it adapt to it? When you're training, the point of training is to create adaptation, which is why it takes time. But it's also why that first, what do we call that? The new gains. It's also why the first few weeks in the gym, you feel like amazing because your body's adapting and it's a new input that's a positive input. Yeah. It's like people say, I'm gonna eat this diet and I felt amazing for 3 or 4 weeks. Well, yeah, because you stopped eating junk food. Yeah. That's the best. I slept better. Well, you should. That's the point. So that's where the new gains are great, but you got to make sure again that you're on the right path. We have a good map for you that you're not going to push it too far. Go to the gym. You've done this.
Oh yeah.
Go to the gym, hit the workout. You finish. Your coach gave you a plan. Here it is. You're done. I feel really good though.
Yeah,
go home.
That is the most dangerous statement.
Go home. And really back to that marathon I was talking about earlier. It's interesting because we had him in a good space. We're planning him out for our one that came up here, I think in December or January. And he was out doing, I think it was 200 or 300 meter sprints or race pace or 10%. I think it was faster than race pace. and doing speed work. And his coach said, you're doing 8 to 10 and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
He felt so good, he did 12. Guess what happened on the 12th one?
Got hurt.
Pulled his hamstring. Why is that? When you coach somebody, the coach, me, Dr. David, whoever else out there, we understand the body's limitations, especially your particular limitations. So when we program for you, the program is built to push you kind of to the edge and then stop. And then we check in with how the body works, feels, moves, whatever.
Yep.
Positive, we can push it a little more.
Mm-hmm.
When you, the client or patient or person listening to this, decide, I feel good, I'm going to do a couple more. You now have just fired your coach and you're doing it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I promise you, when the injury, and you may not be injured immediately, but you definitely made your body so that coach now no longer understands the parameters of how your body is moving and feeling.
Yep. To oversimplify RPE, it's basically that.
Yeah.
To oversimplify it.
It's funny. There's a few things out there that their use is different.
Yeah.
Like RPE is like, that's perceived exertion, which on a good day is much lower than on a bad day, where it's going to be higher. That's expected. But that's the point. It's a little check-in. How do I feel today? Does this seem harder than normal? Yes. Take that. Like, take that information in your brain, back it down. You got a coach or somebody you're working with, let them know. That either means A, you went out partying too late, didn't recover, or have not hydrated very well. Something in your day-to-day has led you just having a bad day. Not sleeping well is one of the biggest ones.
Most common one I see.
Yeah, very, very true. Especially in this caffeinated world we live in. I'm shocked. I was like, the sugar intake in America is like some ridiculous number. I think our caffeine is probably 10 times
It's
that.
probably more. Like, I don't consume much sugar unless I'm right before going to the gym, and I'll get some carbs in me. But really, I have a lot of caffeine.
Oh, caffeine.
I'm the biggest sinner on that.
Oh, man. I don't know if it's good or bad.
I see both.
Yeah.
There's some studies that say, I'll say like coffee is really good for longevity of the heart. Then I'll also see way too much coffee is really bad for the heart. I don't know.
Could that be moderation?
It could probably.
I think it might be moderation.
I don't know where I stand on that one.
The moderation part or the coffee part?
Or how much I'm consuming.
It's not in my food app.
Nope.
It doesn't say caffeine in that one, I don't think. Actually, it's funny. It's very moderation is it applies to literally everything.
Yep.
Which can make you the most boring human being on the planet, depending on your personality, because it's more fun to be whatever. But moderation is great with that, but it does tie in. It's very funny. I was listening to Dan Campbell got interviewed. He's the coach for the Lions.
I love it. He's my hero.
He's a massive human being. He seems like a genuinely great guy. But they were asking him a question during the interview, and he was like, something about caffeine. And he goes, I'm around 1,000 calories, 1,000 grams a day.
Okay, to put that in perspective, because a lot of people don't know what 1,000 looks like. 1 Celsius, because that's probably one of the bigger energy drinks out there, is 200 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, milligrams, not grams. Sorry.
If he's at 1,000 grams, holy crap.
His heart probably exploded already. Misquote there. Sorry. 1,000 milligrams.
So think 5 Celsius in a day.
5 Red Bulls.
Yep.
5 cups of coffee, good cups, not shots. Probably akin to maybe 10 espressos.
Around there. I don't know.
Espresso's about 100 milligrams, I think, or 150. It's a lot, man. And
that's not throughout the day. That's like before 12 or something like that.
Yeah,
I love this guy.
He can't have caffeine after 12. It doesn't mean you have to have it all before.
Yep. It's like to say 1 glass of wine, you pour a really big glass. It's not how that works.
Oh, I love this. For a Christmas present years ago, I'm a wine drinker. I love wine. Wine, whiskey, water. Love them. But I got a glass. And it's deceiving. And as part of the joke, they went to pour me a glass of wine. And so they cracked open a new bottle, and they made me hold the glass. And I was unaware. Like it looks it, but I couldn't tell. No. I'd never seen it before. He starts pouring. And I'm sitting there just holding the glass, and I'm talking and chatting, having a good time. And I look over, and the glass is barely half full, and he's still pouring. I was like, okay, whatever. Just play along, be nice.
Yeah.
He empties the bottle and shakes it over my glass, and I was like, I didn't get it. And the rule in the house is you got to drink it, can't waste it, kind of thing, as a joke, of course. Yeah. We're not alcoholics, just as a joke. But I'm sitting there looking at that thing going, he just poured an entire bottle of wine in the glass. I didn't even know that was a thing. And the glass didn't look like Side note, sorry, just sidebar. Cut that out.
Did you sleep? No, we're leaving it in.
Slept like a baby. You kidding me?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
It was definitely around the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
But Mike, I did. I slept great. But it was like, I was laughing. I don't know how we got onto this glass. But anyway, so 1,000 milligrams is a lot of caffeine.
Yeah.
I'm rocking about 200 right now, and you see how I am. I can't imagine what 1,000 looks like.
No.
I mean, just get explode.
I feel like you're just anxious at that point.
I don't know.
Even after, because I mean, I have a bunch of caffeine throughout the day. I think I'm around like 400-ish. So it's about like 2 Celsius.
But throughout the day.
Yeah, throughout the day.
Yeah.
I spread it out for sure. But 1,000?
That's a ton.
That's a ton.
You know what makes me laugh? There's a guy now. He can have an espresso at 5:30 at night and go to bed by 9.
That was me in grad school. Yeah, this is
Well,
different.
grad school is different.
Yeah.
But that was insane. I think because my mind, like too much caffeine for me, my mind will not. It's a party. Everybody showed up and nobody's leaving.
Yeah.
Anytime before 4 a.m. anyway. So yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know how we got in the caffeine thing. Dan Campbell, thank you for bringing that into this world. But moderation, yes. Moderation in the gym, moderation in food, all the same stuff. But when it comes to what we're talking about today, exercise and limitations, try to figure out, find out, do something, find a way to know your limitations. Walk into the gym, don't run. Take your time. Moving your body weight around, gymnastics type stuff is probably one of the best ways to truly start. And if you really want to have fun and you're going to laugh, I get people laugh at me all the time with this, find a park with a playground, go there, and just play on the playground for like 15 or 20 minutes. Don't push yourself. Don't caffeinate up like I'm going to charge it. Just climb the ladder. Go down the slide. Try the monkey bars, but don't hurt yourself. Be conscientious, judicious, just be smart.
Yeah.
But just play on the playground. And you will be shocked how sore you are the next day. If you can't go down the pole, like slide down that pole, like the fireman's pole, don't. Please don't. But you'll see, just by doing those little movements and that type of patterns, you'll start to see where you're weak and where you're not weak, where you're stronger, where whatever. You'll start to identify those things on your own. That's probably, I just thought of that. That's probably a good, what do you think? Seems like a fair way to just see.
Yeah.
Climb some stairs, go down the slide.
Yeah, that's a really basic assessment.
Yeah, you can't hurt yourself. And, I mean, obviously I'm always going to say, get your butt in this office and let's have a look at you because we'll help you. Here's what it is. This is just truly brass tacks. We'll help you save money and time trying to get from where you are to where you want to be. That's it. It'll cost you money to see us. It'll cost you time to see us. We'll save you the extra money and the extra time of an injury, of going to see an orthopedic, of getting an MRI, x-rays, imaging, pain meds, whatever, because we're going to help you circumvent that piece.
100%.
Yeah, I'd say that's honestly, if you want to get down to what we're talking about, get in the gym. There's studies all over the place. One that just got released. It's going to give you a better quality of life, which truly is more important. I would rather have the most amazing life ever and die at 80 than have an okay one and go to 90. I want to enjoy every second of this thing that I can. Only one we got. So it's worth time and money to figure out what's going on with you to make sure you don't lose time waiting to get better.
And just to, I guess, reemphasize what he's saying there, we tell each other as doctors to not be your own patient because we often will just oversee everything. We think we're okay, but really when we get someone assessed, when we talked about his
I know
back,
everything.
or when
I
he
don't.
assesses me, I see things differently. Same thing with you guys. I know a bunch of you guys are really smart. I know our athletes are really smart.
Oh, yeah.
As in, they understand how their body feels, but it doesn't mean that you understand how to fix everything without a biased lens. So come to us, talk to us, and we'll tell you if you're on the right track or not.
100%.
Like, we won't lie to you about that part.
Nope, not at all.
But just come talk to us, and we'll figure that out with you.
Yeah. Change the behavior, so to speak. And a lot of athletes, like they'll come in, they'll have, like the marathoner I was talking about earlier. You got a power lifter or somebody who's in CrossFit for 10 years. Like they're smart when it comes to movements and what they're doing and how they feel, but they don't know why they don't feel good. They can guess, and we'll have patients all the time say, well, I think it's because I did this, or I think it's because I did that.
Could be.
It could be, but let's dig a little deeper. That's the point of like a discovery visit or discovery phone call is like, let's dig deeper and ask the questions. Let our experience and brain power, our brains are worth almost $500,000.
At this point,
Yeah. Figure things out and help you. And honestly, I've had a couple patients come in and they're like, I'm doing this, and this, and blah, blah. I said, you know what? You just had a bad day. Worked on some tissue. We found some stuff, did some correctives, and they were on their way. You know what I mean? That's not a game plan for all people, not what I want to do. But if you don't really need us, like there's no point to it. And if you're really kind of hesitant, well, let's talk for a minute, figure it out. If not, cool. We're in your back pocket now. You need us? Here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, and a fun one for the powerlifters to really think about too, because when I talk to them, they are overly nerdy about RPE, RIR, what was it today, and all that stuff. And if they misgroove, you're just weak. It's okay. I misgroove all the time too. But let's think about it this way.
What's misgroove?
Misgrooving, when we're talking about it in a powerlifting context or really weightlifting context, is the bar path or the way that the bar moves doesn't move the same way, and it feels that it's off track, and you feel a little wobbly, and then all of a sudden you just fail the lift. It doesn't mean that you don't have the strength to do it. It felt really weird, and you got scared, and you dropped the bar.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So those are just for those out there, because you understand this. This is where Olympic lifting and powerlifting share commonalities that you won't necessarily get in running. You won't necessarily get in bodybuilding, things like that. But you're moving a load at a direction that you move. Like powerlifting has 3 movements.
3.
Olympic lifting has 2.
Really 2, yeah.
Snatch being one of the most dynamic on the planet.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Coming from a powerlifter, I think the snatch is really cool.
Oh, it's just so many moving parts.
Yeah.
But when you practice those things and you're trying to become a quote unquote lifter, whether it be powerlifting or Olympic lifting, you have done these movements so many times. It's like signing your name with your eyes closed.
Oh, yeah.
If you put it on a rocky piece of paper, I'm going to feel the difference. And that's all he's talking about. When he pulls that bar and it's the path, just something's off, drop, bail. Because you don't know. You don't want to get hurt. So it's very fascinating. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
But to jump back into the whole thing that I was talking about earlier, like when you're assessing yourself, I understand that, hey, maybe we cut some range out for a little bit. Maybe we'll put a block on a bench press just to really feel things out. But on a bigger sense, when I'm assessing you, especially for my powerlifters, when was the last time you rotated?
Oh.
You didn't. Your whole sport is to resist that. So when we talk about life and sport, that's really when we start separating those
he's
things.
going down a path.
I am going down a path.
This might make this a little longer now.
Yep.
I'm sorry. You'll enjoy it, I promise. What this is called is sport versus human function. So human function, i.e. human development. So all the pullings, crawlings, all the kinds of like, that's human beings. That's just being human. What he's talking about is a sport of. And no athlete is very functional or healthy in a classic sense because they can't be. Sport is repetition, right? And if you have a sport like football, that's trauma. Over and over and over. You're telling me you got hit by somebody in the chest and you're going to keep moving perfectly? No. Powerlifting, you're golf, tennis, all of these things, you have this repetitive motion, and golf is more akin than tennis, because tennis you go back and forth, up and down, whatever. But with golf, your feet are planted. You're not budging. I guess you can call it a closed chain, repetitive motion.
I would say it's closed chain.
I mean, even a clean, your heels come off a little bit because you rearrange your feet a little bit, but then you catch it quick.
Yeah.
That's just, I've never thought about it from that perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a closed chain. So closed chain means that your feet or your hands are locked into the ground. So it's basically if I'm doing a back squat, that's a closed chain movement because my feet are locked in the ground. Where if I'm doing a leg extension or leg curl, my feet are off the ground. So it's an open chain. Closed chain's dangerous because, this is fun. I don't know how we got here either, but I love it. Those feet aren't going to move. So if you have a right glute that's a little inefficient today, or L4, L5 vertebra are a little stuck together today, or your core is not firing or being active today, you're going to back squat anyway, which means now my body's got to figure out how to make that happen with whatever I have available to me at that point in time.
Yep.
And that's where you can start to feel off. That's where athletes really identify, I'm not feeling it today, or I'm off today, or something's just off today.
Yeah.
That's a great way to look at that. That was very good. Yep.
At least for my powerlifters, when I'm looking at them, we have to look at the other planes of motion for sure, because we only really do 3. And I know all you guys because I do it too. We skip the accessories because of time.
I gotta go.
And really, sometimes the coach, if they're smart, their accessories will kind of have that stuff in there.
Yeah.
Rotations, lateral motion, because we don't do that in our sport. Yeah. But that's also very important for life because we're not video game characters, at least 1990s video game characters. We don't move in just one plane. We move in all planes. So we have to figure out how to do that in your everyday life.
It's a funny thing because when you're a lifter or exerciser, going to the gym, whatever you want to call it, my fitness, I do fitness stuff. We forget that picking up your keys is an athletic movement.
Yeah.
Nobody braces their core, is in a good position, and nobody hurts their back deadlifting, really. In a powerlifting stage, they might, because that's a lot of weight.
A lot of weight, yeah.
But when you're prepping a lift, you're prepping a lift. When you pick up your keys, you're just bending over to pick up your keys. This goes back to the mom and dad thing, too. Yeah. Same concept. That's why I said address that baby like a weight. Address your keys like a weight. When you get out of a chair like it's a squat. Don't just lean forward and pick yourself up, because those movement patterns are where the bad stuff happens. Yeah. That's where you start training yourself into this compensatory rhythm that just translates into the gym. So if you have a long day, if you're a lawyer, accountant, programmer, somebody who's an engineer, you're sitting in a chair a long time, a lot of hours every day, that bad posture, and then you roll to the gym that night, if you don't spend some time waking up that system, You're just going to harden that compensation.
Mm-hmm.
That was very
Absolutely.
good, Doc.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. I like that. And the rotate, thinking of sports. Sports great.
Yeah.
But you do like runners need more weight training.
Oh, yeah.
Weight trainers need more core endurance.
Powerlifters need to get off
Power,
the couch.
they do. If you're in a sport that you create a lot of rotation, you have to learn to control rotation, do an anti-rotation. If you have no rotation, you have to learn how to create that rotation. There's so many pieces to the human body that, like sport, we got to remember, sport is not human.
No.
Sport is fun. We enjoy it mentally, physically.
It's even social if you think about it. That
Social,
way. Yeah.
huge social component. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. When people come in, they say, I don't want to be hurt. Like I get tennis players constantly, and I have a whole group actually out here in Orange County. And it's funny because they didn't know they all saw me because they had their guy. And then somehow my name popped up and like, oh, that's who I see. And it was kind of funny.
All right, side note, stop gatekeeping us. Just tell your friends.
They do that. They say, you can't know who he is. He's helped me so much, you can't go see him. And we're like, no, come on, man. Share. You got to share. Anyway, but they found out we get tennis players and you start showing them through sport what they need to train that's different than a golfer, different than a power lifter. And on top of that, all four of these gentlemen that I saw, they all four had different issues.
Yeah.
One's a salesman. He's traveling around in and out of a car all day, blah, blah, blah. He's different than somebody that sits at a desk all day or somebody that stands at a desk all day. So when we say we're going to make a routine for you, we literally mean you, your avatar, your person, your being, not a tennis player that you happen to be, not a desk person that you happen to be. It's for you specifically. And that's the fun.
Yeah.
That's the funnest part of it. And the best part is you have one that, like, one of my patients won the championship. He was like, thank you so much for everything you did. And it's like, you're welcome. And I have a funny joke. Like, I did that. Now, I didn't win the championship for him at all. He did all the work there. He had to do the work. I just helped him. But it's kind of a nice pat on the back, like, hey, I appreciate you for helping me out. And to me, as a doctor, to him, as a client and athlete, I appreciate you for doing it and showing the success from it. It's fantastic. It makes us all feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Needless to say, I know we talked about a lot of things in this last hour or so.
Oh, God, we're covering topic after topic, yes.
Just because it's fun. So we enjoy all of this. But needless to say, there are physical limitations and there are also social limitations. Any limitation that you really bring upon yourself here that we consider in this exercising podcast here.
Yeah.
And that really, I'm pretty sure we could talk for another hour about this.
Oh, God, don't even get me started on just functional movement, get into nutrition, talk about hydration, get into sleep. It goes on and on. It's a rabbit hole, which is why, honestly, people are confused out there. You go out there and you go to the Google machine there and type in some stuff in, you're going to have 50 billion hits. There is no way for you to weed through all that information and even have a clue what's good for you. So you just got to be careful about it. That's all. Like if you're going to do something and go out, try to make sure that, you should feel good. Like the feel good after exercise. Why is that bad? Like, I got to feel the burn. I'm like, why? It doesn't mean anything.
No. Okay, so this is how
I got to sweat. I'm like, put on a sweatshirt.
This is how I've approached that. When you're exercising or training, right? Yeah, you should feel like you worked.
Yeah, for sure.
You should feel good afterwards too, because that's not the competition.
No.
we got to save that for the competition.
Yes,
that's what that's for.
Yes. And for anyone out there, like here's a advice. I don't like to give advice much, but this is something I read and heard somewhere and I thought was great. For those wanting to get into shape and you're struggling, you're having trouble just getting that momentum going, the best thing you can do is pick a 5K or pick a cycling event or pick a High Rocks Junior. I'm sure they have varying levels of High Rock stuff. Pick an event that will want you to go to the gym and you're training for something, not just to lose weight, not just to look this way in the mirror in my bathing suit, actually for something. And I'm not saying 6 weeks from now. I'm talking like 6-8 months from now. Make it a goal that will force you to be consistent and stick to it. And hopefully find somebody like us who can help you so you can do that event without getting hurt and take your time. But that little piece, that little goal should help motivate you if you're having trouble with motivation. That's all. My motivation is actually a few people at the gym. I want to beat them there in the morning. Makes me smile. They got a couple kids that show up to the thing. I want to beat them there. Makes me smile. That's my motivation. 4:45 a.m. the alarm goes off. I get out of bed. Why? I want to be there before them. That's the only competition I can really beat them at because I'm older and they're younger and much better shape. But if I can beat them there, that makes me happy and it keeps me motivated. And that's all you have to figure out in this world, just what motivates you. I don't know how we got here again, but this is how this goes. So, yeah.
I feel like we could wrap it up here. We went through a lot.
Yeah, we can call this day. So anyway, to wrap it up in a little nutshell for you, take the time, find your limitations before you go sprinting anything, especially come this new year. After the holidays, take the time. When you figure it out, hire someone like us, come see someone like us, talk to somebody like us. Make sure you're in the right direction. Make sure everything looks the way it's supposed to look. And that's it. Yeah. We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
We're wrapping this sucker up. Okay.
Oh, that's a clap. I don't know my buttons apparently. All right.